Alright, we should be good now. I don't think the audio is that well good, but as you just read from the title, we're gonna learn Persuasion now. So I made a document right here with just a few videos, and I'm gonna watch all of these. I have some notes right here, not yet, but I'm just gonna write down everything that I learned from these videos, and I'll not be talking that much. I'll just try to learn Persuasion. So let's just get to it.
The art of persuasion is a subtle, complex discipline which requires skill. But lucky for all our viewers out there, we are going to let you in on 15 useful tricks hidden in the enormous wealth of psychological knowledge. Millions of people all over the world have been swindling, manipulating, and persuading people with great success. But how do they do it? Well, if you understand how the human brain works and what makes people tick, you too can learn how to make people do pretty much whatever you want. The only question
I'll just write psychology because it basically is psychology. Persuasion. I 100%
is whether you'll use this power
I 100% wrote that wrong, but
for good or for evil. 1. The reciprocity norm. The reciprocity norm is a pretty simple concept and one of the most powerful ways to convince others to do something for you. What it all boils down to is, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Once you do it,
okay. You help me, I help you. You trick.
do a favor for someone else, they'll be more likely to help you in return, with whatever you ask them. 2.
Wait, maybe I should. I don't know how I get, like, I see the, like, comments and stuff. Because I know there was, like, okay, that doesn't matter.
The chameleon effect. Research has also shown that mimicking someone will make them more agreeable towards you. It's called the chameleon effect.
What is that? Be like the person. Be like the other person. That makes sense, right? Just try to, because I've also seen that in, like, when they're in trying to, like, police, when they are trying to figure out if the person, like, did something wrong or something, then they, like, try to mimic. So for example, if the other person sit like this, then they're also gonna sit like this. If they sit like this, then they're gonna sit like that as well. So yeah.
Try copying their posture or body language,
Yeah,
and
that's exactly what I said.
they might be more likely to help you out. 3. Don't get caught rambling. When it comes to the art of persuasion, less is more. Instead of listing all the various reasons why you're right and they're wrong, focus on 1 or 2 main points at the most. One good reason is ideal. 4. Start small.
Okay, so I'm gonna write you don't always need to talk too much. Yeah, very nice, very nice.
This is known as the foot in the door technique. Basically what this means is that if you ask someone for a small favor, such as borrowing a quarter, they're more likely to continue doing favors for you, even big ones. But if you just start off with asking to borrow their car, you might have less success. 5.
Okay, so I'll say get the ball rolling. With favors. by starting small. Starting small. Nice.
Status. Status is important when asking people for favors. Use their official titles, such as Doctor, Mr., Professor, and don't forget to use their name. People love to hear their own name, and they like to feel respected. 6. Speak.
Okay, I'll just say, use their name. Use their name. Their name. Or make them feel good. Very nice.
Faster. Are you a fast talker? Well, if you want to convince people that you're right, quickly getting your point across can be an advantage, according to research. Speaking quickly overwhelms their brains and doesn't give them a chance to form a rebuttal. 7.
Okay,
Contrasting.
I don't know what to write to that.
Every salesman knows this technique. Start big and back down. But the key here is to ask for more than what you actually want. Eventually, you can scale back your demands and you'll be left with what you originally wanted.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I've seen this before. This is very good. Very, very good. Make your request oh my god, I'm so bad at typing. Request seem small by using contrast.
In the first place. 8. Repetition bias. This is also known as the Goebbels effect. Repeating.
Oh, this is what Donald Trump used with when he wanted to, like, you know, the Mexican wall. He wanted to build a wall, like in the U.S. and in Mexico. I'm pretty sure he used this repetition bias trick, because he kept saying, let's build a wall, let's build a wall, let's build a wall, let's build a wall. So people just thought it was a good idea because he kept on saying it, he kept on saying it, he kept on saying it. Yeah.
Repeating the same lie often enough will eventually convince people. If you continue to repeat your opinion, even if it's wrong, people will be more likely to accept it.
Yeah, I'll write this down. Repeat. Repeat. I'll just say repeat.
9. Wait till they're tired. If you're trying to convince someone, wait till they're tired. Research has shown that critical thinking goes out of the window when people are tired, and they're more likely to agree with whatever you're saying. 10.
Okay. Okay. People agree more when they are tired. Very nice.
Remind them of the benefits. When trying to convince someone to do something or to take a particular opinion, always phrase your argument in terms of how they benefit. Always mention what you're offering them.
Yeah, okay. Very nice, very nice. What do I say here? Remember to tell them about the benefit they are getting. Okay.
Them before you talk about what you want from them. 11. Priming. A very interesting method is priming. There are many ways to do this, and you can really get creative. What it really boils down to is subconsciously reminding people or encouraging people to do something or take a particular opinion. The classic example is if you want someone to write you a check, make sure there's a checkbook nearby when you ask. But that's just scratching the surface when it comes to priming, and there are plenty more examples of how this can work. 12.
Okay, I don't know how to.
Sensationalism. Get excited about whatever you're selling, even if that's an opinion.
Okay. Oh. Ugh. Get excited. Get excited. That makes sense as well.
Make sure the person thinks that the time is running out. There's a limited supply. If they don't act...
I'll put in brackets, I'll put FOMO. FOMO.
now, the opportunity will go away. You've probably seen this a lot in commercials. 13. Make sure people are watching. This one only works if you're trying to convince someone to do the right thing. And why wouldn't you be doing that? Anyway, when people are watching, individuals feel like they're being judged by society at large, so they're more likely to do the right thing. 14. Choose your words carefully. Words have incredible power over people. Say please and thank you. Don't use big, complicated words. It insults their intelligence. Nouns have more convincing power than verbs. Helper instead of help. There are countless examples of beneficial words and ones to stay away from. 15.
I'll just say here, use simple words. I've also heard Alex and Mosi say some of this. Use simple words. Simple words.
Your friends to agree with you. This is also known as the bandwagon effect. Make sure that people who you're trying to convince know that a lot of other people agree with you. Social media can be a huge help in this case. If everyone agrees with your opinion online, more tend to jump on the bandwagon. So there you have it. 15 tried and true methods to persuade others.
Okay, let's give this a like, and I'll put these in the description so that people can see these. I don't know how to do it right now, but let's just get on to the next one.
Today you'll learn the art of persuasion, specifically 7 powerful principles that influence everyone's decision making, including your own. You'll learn ethical ways you can apply these principles, and just by being aware of them, you'll now notice when someone uses them on you. I want to credit Robert Cialdini's book Influence for first teaching me these. One of the strongest principles of persuasion you need to be aware of is social proof. People will look to other people to help them decide how valuable something or someone.
Yeah, I'll get that because I didn't get it on the other one. Social proof
is. For an example, watch what happens when this YouTuber hires 25 paparazzi to photograph him in the street.
The 25 paparazzi had the entire street thinking I was a movie star.
I'm married to these ladies now.
Do you know who he is? Spider-Man.
You saw him in Shrek 4, right?
I did. I'm like, I gotta get a photo with this man.
With photographers swarming him, it's totally reasonable to assume he's famous. But why are people waiting in line for selfies when they don't actually know who he is? They only want it because they see that other people want it. Now, of course, social proof does have its limits. For example, listen to how this YouTuber tried to trick a comedy club owner.
I hired this whole crowd to laugh at everything I say, all to make this comedy club, and more specifically their owner, think I'm funny.
This might trick a random audience member into laughing, but when someone's full-time job is to evaluate talent, they're not gonna suddenly think you're funny just because other people are laughing at your jokes, right?
It used to be called a jumperline until your mama jumped on it.
I've got to say that was absolutely one of the best second gigs I've ever seen.
There's a lot we can take away from this. First, recognize that other people can literally warp how you experience someone. This is something you have to be aware of if you're in a closed social system like school or an office. Otherwise, you might end up pursuing a friendship or relationship with someone who you don't even like just because other people like them. Or you might end up blowing off someone amazing just because other people don't feel the same way. The other thing social proof can teach us is how other people view us. This next clip is a fictional example, but it's a pretty accurate representation of how many people think.
Wait a minute. That's that Sadir guy. Who are those guys with him? I don't know, but if they're with Sadir, they have got to be worth something.
Does this mean you should pick your friends based on how it'll make other people react to you? No, of course not. But there are a few ways you can improve your life now that you know about social proof. First, if you like to go out to meet new people, don't stalk around the venue not talking to anyone, looking for someone you're attracted to. Instead, focus on having fun and talking to everyone around you. you'll have a better time, and when people see you bouncing between groups, making them laugh and have a good time, you become magnetic. Social proof can also be used if you're recruiting for a new job. Let's say your dream job is to work at Google. Apply to a few competitors at the same time. If you get offers, you can tell Google that you really want to work there, it's your dream job, but just as a heads up, you have a few other job offers already that you need to get back to. Most recruiters will suddenly view you as a more attractive candidate. In addition to social proof, this also triggers our next principle of influence, scarcity. People have an innate fear of missing out and regretting it. So when something is perceived as rare or in short supply, its value increases in our eyes. In that recruiting example, you become a more attractive candidate because they might not be able to get you. To avoid falling victim to this trap yourself, start identifying scarcity speech. Almost sold out, limited time only. These phrases. The third principle of influence we'll cover today is consistency. People rarely like admitting they were wrong, so they feel pressure to be consistent with the things they've said or done in the past. The most viral example of persuasive consistency comes from Jordan Peterson's conversation with Kathy Newman after Kathy asks him this.
You cited freedom of speech in that. Why should your right to freedom of speech trump a trans person's right not to be offended?
For context, this conversation has been contentious, with Kathy aggressively trying to poke holes in many of Jordan's ideas. And that's great news for him because it's exactly what allows him to persuade Kathy to share his viewpoint here.
Because in order to be able to think, you have to risk being offensive. I mean, look at the conversation we're having right now. You know, like you're certainly willing to risk offending me in the pursuit of truth. Why should you have the right to do that?
What can she do here? She either has to say that she's been behaving poorly for the last 20 minutes, or stay consistent with her past behavior and say that she agrees with him.
I'm just trying to work that out. I mean,
Ha, gotcha.
you have got me.
Before you try to change someone's mind, see if you can show them that based on their past actions, you two already agree. You can also use the consistency principle by giving...
Yeah, wait a second. Make the other person agree with you. Very nice. Very nice.
Giving someone a reputation they want to live up to. They'll try to act consistent with how you see them because it's how they want to be seen. In this next clip, watch how Saul persuades Tuco not to kill his associates. It's a fictional show, but the psychology of this clip is real.
When I was at your abuelita's place, you were gonna let them go. Way I see it, that's because you're tough, but you're fair. You're all about justice.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna say... Okay, gotta go on the next page here. How do I say this? Okay, what number was I on? Oh, what number was I on? Number 14. 14. Make the other person seem like they are right and pull that onto your argument. Yep.
That's what I'm saying. Justice.
There's two key elements to giving someone a reputation to live up to. First, the person has to want that reputation. Second, they have to be able to believe that reputation. In that last clip, if Saul had said, Tuco, don't do this, you're not a murderer, it wouldn't work. The next principle of influence is reciprocity. People are more likely to say yes to a request if they've previously received a favor or gift from the other person. This can be a great thing. A friend helps you move, later you help them move, and you're both better off than if you had moved yourself alone. The danger comes when someone gives you something to purposefully trigger your sense of reciprocity, and then asks for a bigger favor now that you feel obligated to say yes. This next clip is a funny example from The Office. It's over-exaggerated, but it gives you a good idea of what to watch out for.
This is really nice, Dwight. Thanks.
Thanks. Oh, don't mention it. You owe me one. You all owe me one. Can't a guy just buy some bagels for his friends so they'll owe him a favor which he can use to get someone fired who stole a co-manager position from him anymore? Jeez.
There's another sneaky way reciprocity can show up in your life, and that's during a negotiation or a disagreement. A person might make an extreme request knowing you'll reject it, and then fall back to a smaller request. You think they're doing you a favor by conceding, so you feel compelled to accept the new offer. Cialdini calls this the rejection then retreat technique.
And I want Charles gone.
I'm not firing Charles. He's very valuable.
Okay, then I want Pam back.
You already have a new receptionist.
Sales.
Thank you.
Please continue.
This is a good trick to know about so that you can defend yourself from it. Don't feel obligated to meet in the middle. It's okay to stand your ground if you think your position is fair. On the flip side, this isn't a trick I'd recommend you try. If your first request is seen as a lowball or an obvious trick, the person will hate you for trying to manipulate them.
Well, let's try 879,000.
Where do you come up with this number? You pull it from your behind?
You're much better off making sure that each suggestion you make in a negotiation is reasonable and made in good faith. Now, one thing that makes all of these principles more persuasive is authority. People have a natural instinct to listen to those who seem credible or who they view as experts. While this is generally a good instinct to follow, it can be easily abused, especially when people use symbols of authority like titles, credentials, or a uniform to trick people.
When he was a teenager, authorities in Florida say Malachi Love Robinson posed as a doctor and set up a medical clinic.
For another example, listen to how the shoe brand Payless pranked designer shoe buyers by using symbols of authority to make their store look like a high-end fashion store.
We built a fake luxury store, filled it with avant-garde sculptures and displays. We even hired a full team of sales associates. Then we filled all the shelves with Payless shoes and jacked up our prices as much as 1,800%.
Then they told people this was the grand opening of an Italian designer. And with all the trappings of a designer shoe store around them, look how people reacted to the Payless shoes.
For me to experience this as an Italian designer is amazing.
I could definitely wear this to like a Met Gala dinner.
Just think it's so unique.
I would definitely spend $295 on a pump like this. I would pay like $300-400 for these shoes for sure.
The danger.
Okay, I'm just gonna say authority is very powerful. Yep.
The danger of authority's persuasiveness goes beyond pranks and scams, because even when someone is actually an authority on something, blindly trusting them can still be dangerous. Super successful business people can still give bad business advice, and a real doctor can still give bad medical advice. This doesn't mean you need to question every authority you encounter, but if you're about to make a life-changing decision based on another person's expert advice, there's two things you can do to protect yourself from bad faith actors. First, trace financial incentives. Does this authority figure benefit financially if you follow their advice? This doesn't automatically mean it's bad advice, but it's worth being aware of. And second, always seek a second opinion if you can. Now on to principle number 6, liking. If you're a fan of Charisma on Command, you probably already understand this one. People are more easily persuaded by people they like. If you're charismatic, life is easier. You're more like...
I'm just gonna say be likable. Be likable.
To get friends, dates, job offers, promotions, just to name a few. How to be likable is a topic that needs more than a minute to teach, but if it's an area you want to improve, just check out any other video on this YouTube channel or our online Charisma University. Now there's one more persuasion principle that I want to cover that Cialdini doesn't cover in his book, but it's incredibly persuasive. Risk mitigation. People are loss averse. We fear getting ripped off, wasting our time, basically making any big decision and regretting it. So if you're trying to persuade someone to do something, think of what they think their potential downside might be to saying yes. Then offer them a way to minimize that downside.
Okay, that's a good one. Figure out how to minimize the other person's expectation of the downside Very nice. Very nice.
Here's an example from the real Jordan Belfort closing a sale.
I'm asking to get married right now, okay? I believe in starting small because I know I can prove myself to you. Now, if I was here saying to you, I want all your business fire tight and do this, do that, right? You'd say, get the f out of here, right? Okay, but I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that I'm confident if you just see a little bit of what I could do, we can use that as a benchmark to go forward. So again, I'm asking for one shot, 30 days, and believe me, you're going to be a client for life.
Okay, now there's one last point on persuasion that is by far the most important point in this entire video. It's not a persuasion principle, it's a mindset that will make everything in your life easier and more successful. I'll let Jordan explain this one too. It's a lesson he learned after going to prison.
Here's a pen. In the movie, we see Jordan Belfort sell a pen. Sell me the pen.
So the best thing to say is I would say to Pierce, how long have you been in the market for a pen?
I wanted a pen for 3 months.
If you would have said to me, I don't really use a pen, I said, oh, really? Will you be in the market for a pen over the next few weeks or so? You'd say, no. I said, have a nice day. I'm going to go find someone who wants a pen. I don't want to sell someone a pen who doesn't need a pen.
Don't spend time trying to persuade someone to do something unless you genuinely believe it's good for them. One, it's unethical, and two, even from a pure
only persuade if you think it's genuinely gonna benefit them. Benefit them. These headphones are annoying to have on.
purely selfish standpoint, it's bad for you. Even if you get what you want, they'll come to resent you for talking them into a bad decision. They won't want to be in a relationship with you or to do business with you again, and they'll warn other people to stay away. On the other hand, if you use the principles in this video only to persuade people into things that are genuinely good for them, then each persuasion will make the person like you more and trust you more. You're building up a bank of goodwill and strengthening your relationship.
That was video number 2.
You probably like to think of yourself as a rational human being. Like when you have a decision to make, you take all the information, you make a pros and cons list, and you add that up to make the best decision possible. But you're a human being. And the truth of human beings is we are far more irrational than we'd like to admit. Oftentimes our decisions come down to the smallest irrational things. And oftentimes that can be just a few words, which is why in this video, I want to give you 6 phrases that you can use to turn the tide in your favor when you're trying to persuade someone to do something that you might like. Now, this is not going to be a substitute for really developing a true persuasive strategy. It's not a substitute for empathy, but start adding these phrases into your vocabulary, and I think you will be shocked with how quickly and how effective they are. So, the first one is when you're coming up against a gatekeeper. And the phrase is simply going to be, have you ever made an exception? Now, I used to use this all the time when I would try to get into bars and clubs after it was technically at capacity, and it worked pretty well. I had a buddy who was going to a graduation ceremony. He had 6 family members and 4 tickets to get in. And they were there, and the guy clearly would have liked to have done something, but it was against the rules. So my friend said, have you ever made an exception? He said, no, I'm sorry, we can't do that. He said, would it be possible to just make one exception this time? And the guy looked around and he said, okay, go ahead, get in there. This one is most effective when you have a gatekeeper that is just doing their job. Like they're not staunchly against you getting in. They're trying to
Okay, I think I'm just gonna
follow the rules, but the idea of making one little exception,
give it 28 minutes. Damn.
even of thinking back to a time where they did and going, okay, that wasn't such a big deal, that can often tip them over to the edge, just shooing you in. So that's the first one. The second one is for when someone has really dug in their feet against you. They do not want to be persuaded. They do not agree with you. You're coming out of left field and they're not into it. And I found myself using this one recently with my family. I wanted my brother to go to this personal development seminar, but it's long. It's 3.5 days and it's about 12 hours a day. It's really intense. There's a ton of reasons not to go. So he was dug in. He did not want to go. And I remember saying to him, Henry, if I were in your position, I got to be honest, I'd feel the same exact way. And he looked at me and I said, then followed up with all the reasons that I'd feel that way. I said, look, I get it. It's a ton of time. You don't know if it's going to be valuable. It seems like a crazy cult. I get it. All of that said, and then I proceeded to give him my reasons that I thought he should go. When you say, if I was in your position, I'd feel...
Yeah, I'm going to say, make the other person know that you understand them. You understand
feel the same exact way. You are validating that person. You're saying you're not wrong. You just might not be seeing something from a different perspective. If you try to jump into someone who is staunchly against you with your side, they're just going to dig in deeper. But when you take their side and you say, you're actually right, that sort of gets them to loosen up, and then they become a little bit more open to change. And in my brother's case, he did wind up going to the program. It was really great. He's happy he did. I'm happy he did. It all worked out. So the third one, you can use this. This one is amazing for interviews. And I thought about not including it because I don't want to flood the market. It is incredibly powerful. Use it sooner because I am going to say it. It is going to, apparently a lot of people will see this and hopefully use this. But you use this one towards the end of an interview when they're asking you if you have any questions for them. And it's kind of a long one. It goes something like this. So obviously I'd love to get this job. But when you're thinking down the line, whether you hire me or whether you hire someone else, how will you know a year from now whether or not you made the right choice? What will that person had to have done to have been an excellent hire? When you say that, first off, I've gotten many, many messages from clients who have said, first off, the employer loved it. They were so happy to hear that you took the initiative to find out what it takes to be good in this role. But second, when they start reciting to you what a fantastic employee looks like, they're looking at you. And if you say it the way I said it, they're imagining having hired you and having had you been this person. When that is in their imagination and they go back to think of who are we going to hire, they've already spent time thinking of having you being an incredible employee. This one is so powerful, so valuable. Obviously, you still need to be qualified, but if you get to this point, it can really push you over the edge. So use it. The fourth one, this one you can use, add it to any of these to make it more powerful. And it can seem ham-fisted and clumsy, but it's simply just adding the person's name. Yeah. When you hear your name, you perk up. Your attention is instantly called in that direction. And somewhere, it implies that that person knows you, like there's a connection there. The weird thing is today, we often have times where there's a gatekeeper that has a name tag. So I remember at bars or clubs when we're trying to get in, the guy would have a name tag. We'd learn his name earlier or read his name tag and say, how's things going in there tonight, John? And he'd look at us and be like, do I know these guys? I'm not really sure. He said, it's good. And so when it came time to ask, could we go in, he was much more amenable. And if it came down to that final question of, have you ever made an exception, John? He felt like he knew us, and that made it even more likely that we could get in that night. Again, you can use this not just with with going into a bar or club. You can use this all over the place to make any sort of ask much more powerful. The fifth one, this is a sales tactic, and it's called the yes ladder. If you've ever been called up by your university when they're asking for money, you know that they don't just pick up the phone and go, hey.
People say yes many times.
Would you like to donate $100 today? That would be crazy. They start off by putting you on a yes ladder. They say, is this the correct address that we can reach you at? How is this phone number? Something, something, something. They try to get you answering yes to easy questions before they hit you with a big ask for money. Now, the time that I tend to use this the most in my life and that I recommend that people use it is when they're asking someone on a date, right? You don't want to just jump into, hey, can I have your phone number? Can we go out Wednesday night, 8 p.m.? Rather, it's better to walk them up a yes ladder. And so since I like salsa dancing, the one that I tend to ask women when I'm asking them on a date is say, have you ever heard of salsa dancing? Now, just about everyone's heard of salsa dance. So say, yeah, I've heard of it. I said, does it seem like something that you think you would like? Well, think about it and go, yeah, I like dancing. Yeah, absolutely. Say, okay, would you like to go with me sometime? Again, easy. Will I go sometime? Sure, yeah, I'd like to go sometime. Say, perfect. Why don't you give me your number? This Wednesday at 8 p.m. there's a class, and afterwards there's open dancing. We can go do that, right? It's only after 3 questions that I say the specific ask, and it just seems so natural at that point. If I were to jump in, sure, they might give me their phone number, they might sign up, but that instantly engages this, okay, this is kind of a big ask. Simply by walking people up the yes ladder, it feels much more smooth and natural. So use that one. And then, of course, the 6th one. This one you're going to want to use pretty much everywhere. It comes from Robert Cialdini. It's so simple. I thought about not including it, but any list of persuasive phrases would not be complete without it, and it's the word because. When we hear the word because, we assume that whatever comes after because must be justifying what came before it. And I remember the first time that I used this, I just read it in the book, and I was in college. And me and my buddies had this tiny couch where we'd watch South Park. And oftentimes what would happen is 3 of us could fit on the couch, 4 could fit kind of in a squeeze, but typically the last person in would have to sit in this lousy chair. So I came in late one night and they were all started to sit. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna try this because thing out. And I said to my buddy, hey Andrew, could you slide over because I'd like to sit on the couch? Now normally the answer would be, no, get on the chair. But I remember he didn't even blink. He said, sure, slid over, everyone scrunched together, and there I was sitting on the couch. Now, was it the most comfortable? No, but it felt cool to know that the power of because was on my side. So, those are 6 phrases that you can employ today in
the 4th one.
What's up everybody, this is Charlie from Charisma on Command, and today I want to show you a video on how to be persuasive when you need people to change. Because the truth is, there are situations in our lives, like our social lives, where you don't have to be persuasive. If you don't get along with someone, guess what? You can just filter them out of your life and keep the people that are positive that lift you up. But in certain situations, particularly the working world, if you're in a large organization or you just have some people beneath you or you're trying to get some team to do something that you want, you are going to have to work with people who disagree with you, and you can't just filter them out. So you need to know how to be persuasive against obstinacy. So this video is going to show you Barack Obama speaking on one of the most recent shootings that happened just a few days ago at the
I'll just see here. 35 minutes.
Time of this. And he follows these steps very, very well. Regardless of where your politics fall on this issue, there is a lot to learn from this. So let's dive in.
But as I said just a few months ago, and I said a few months before that, and I said each time we see one of these mass shootings, our thoughts and prayers are not enough.
So what you see right here, this is the first step, is you need to introduce the problem that you have in your organization, wherever you need people to change. Whatever you're doing is not working.
I don't know if this is just cope, but I feel like this is not relevant or what. Maybe I could just read this. Tell people that the proposed action is consistent with their beliefs. Explicitly detail what it would look like if they go in the direction you want them to. You need to finish with an ask. I don't know if I'm just coping, but I don't think that's very. I don't know, man. I'll just go on to the next one. That's loud.
Brainy Dose presents 15 psychology tricks to persuade anyone. Persuasion is a very useful skill that comes in handy in so many circumstances. In fact, the art of persuasion is one of the most practical skills you could learn. Maybe you need to close an important sale or coax your boss into giving you a raise. Perhaps you want to get your spouse to see your point of view, or you simply want to persuade someone to do a favor for you. In situations like these, it's good to know how to use psychology to your advantage, especially since convincing others, mostly those with strongly opposing views, can be difficult. Understanding how and when to use the following tricks will also help you detect when they are being used on you. Number 1, explain the reason for your request. Have you ever had to stand in line for something important, but you were in a real hurry? Maybe you even tried to seek permission to cut in line, but it probably didn't work. You know, you could have increased your chances if you had given a compelling reason. You could have simply said something like, "Can I cut in line? I only have a few items and I'm in a rush." Or, "Can I cut in line? I'm about to miss my flight." Giving reasons for your request will increase the chances of persuading the other person. And remember, the bigger your request, the more compelling your reason should be. Number 2, use polite expressions. Please and thank you are magical words that you need to learn to apply.
I already watched the other videos and this is basically the same stuff. It's just saying again, or I don't feel like this is very powerful.
When trying to persuade people. As humans, we have been generally raised and conditioned to react well to the usage of these words. We are more open to requests than instructions. After all, no one likes to be ordered around. A smiling face and a please can work wonders. So use polite expressions whenever you're trying to persuade someone to do something. You may just get your request granted. Number 3, compliment. Compliments
very...
How to convince others.
Let's go with this one. Then I think this is the last one. Damn, bro, look at these views. Let's go with this, man.
You need to do a scanning of the other person. And I'm going to give you an acronym to do that. First of all, we start with the
Acronym, what the hell is that?
Acronym.
Oh, so it's just this.
the S. The S stands for smile. You have to smile. You have to be open and positive to be able to convince other people. The C stands for connect. You need to connect in a genuine way. You need to be there in the here and now. You need to connect with people in 100% focus. And that focus is very important because people feel when you're focused or not. We have 40 to 60,000 thoughts a day. Only 5% of them is in the here and now. So to connect, you need to be in those 5%, here and now. The A stands for accept and adapt. You need to accept the other point of view of the person you want to convince. And if you accept it, you will be able to adapt it. If you are only willing to communicate your point of view, not adapting and accepting what the other point of view is, you will be not successful in convincing other people. And the N stands for needs. You need to assess, you need to define, and you need to understand what the needs are of the other party. Because remember, if people do not have the right to their own opinion, they will resist to your opinion because it's not 100% similar. And if you do a continuous scan of those 4 things, you will be able to convince in a proper way the other party.
Okay, I know this is not as long as all of the other stuff, but I feel like I have a pretty good view on how to properly persuade people. Obviously, I'm no master at it or anything like that, but I feel like I've got a way better, like, what's it called? Like a way better perception of it. What is it called? Let me do this. So, yeah, I'll see you at some time in the future.